So the Telecommunications Board meeting is now in session. And the first order of business is to introduce you all to Aaron Walliser, who, at least on my screen, is in the center bottom panel. He is, as you can see from the name on the screen, is taking Andrea's place. And it has filled her role at the Township as the Special Projects Coordinator. You want to give us a bit of a thumbnail sketch of who you are and what you did, and et cetera?
So coming from the federal government, I worked for GSA, managing property in downtown Philly. And I started that work after transitioning from a different career via getting my MPA from Villanova. Prior to that, police officer.
Prior to that, military experience too. Art's a retired military as well.
Yeah.
Right.
So what branch of service were you in?
Army.
Yeah, Art was in the Air Force.
Okay.
So I assume that you will keep us in an orderly way here during the course of this meeting. Anyway, we welcome you aboard. We're glad you're with us. And Aaron's had the pleasure of watching, I guess, at least one Board of Supervisor meeting and putting some programs into the Nexus. So he's starting to get his hands into the things that we do, and I certainly welcome him aboard.
Thank you.
Now, welcome aboard. Glad to have you.
Yes, yay.
Yeah, Stephanie welcomes you also. All right, the first order of business is what we have to do at the beginning of each new year, which is to say we have to reorganize. So as of right now, we don't have a chairman or a vice chairman, and it is the job of the group to propose people for those positions for the new year. I turn the gavel over to Stephanie at this time, and she can conduct this part of the meeting.
Okay, at this time, we will accept nominations for chairman. Do I have a nomination?
Yes, I nominate Ed Ehrenbach as chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
Dave Lawson, okay. Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, I will close nominations for chair and call the motion. All those in favor of Ed continuing as chair, say aye.
Aye.
It passes. Congrats, Ed.
Thank you.
Next will be
so
vice
much.
chairman. Next will be vice chairman. And I will open the floor to nominations for vice chairman. Is there a nomination for vice chair?
I'd like to nominate Art to continue in that position.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any other nominations? Seeing none, I'll close nominations and call the question. All those in favor of Art being vice chair this year, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Congratulations. I'll turn it back to you, Ed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. And by the way, Jean has already agreed to take the minutes tonight. So if she looks busy over there writing things down, that's because she is.
Yeah, Rudy's over here helping me.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. That's
I'm down on his level.
always a big help. I have listed on the agenda the official meeting dates for this group, including today. So all 12 meetings are there in the agenda for you. They all, except for one or two, occur on the second Monday of the month. And I think that one or two are like the third Monday. Anyway, if you would take a look at the agenda itself, and then you can fill out your own calendar book from that to get that nailed down for you. Okay. Any questions about any of that?
No.
All right. Moving on then, we had meeting minutes from December the 14th that Jenya put together. Great job for a first shot. Very nicely done. So good that we might
Thank
ask
you.
you to do it again.
Gladly.
But
Of course.
that's a pretty good recommendation.
Yeah,
I make a motion to accept the meetings, accept the minutes.
is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, Jenya. And good luck, Jean. You got competition now.
Hang on. Goodness.
Okay.
Sorry. I have Nancy just joined the wrong, she tried to join the, oh, here she comes. All right. Sorry. She was accidentally going into the wrong meeting.
Okay, hi.
Hi there, sorry
Hi,
about that.
No problem.
Nancy.
I was going into the December meeting. Oops.
Yeah. I
Happy
saw
New
that.
Year.
Yeah,
Happy New Year to
Year.
everybody. Welcome, Aaron.
Yep, thank you.
Nancy, we are partway down the agenda at this point. We've been through introducing Aaron. We've reorganized and we have sort of a familiar look in that Art is the vice chairman again for this year. And the group, despite their better judgment, has invited me to be chairman again for this year. So that business is finished. And we're up to the point on the meeting on the where we approved the meeting notes for December 14th, which we've just done. So we're now at the place on the agenda where we're going to talk about the new community center. This is a very interesting thing that we've been asked to do here. I hope all of you received copies of the questions that have been put together. These are questions that have been basically assembled by the professional facilitator who's been hired as part of this project to assess the feasibility and functionality of this proposed community recreation center. So that list of questions, do any of you not have that at this point, or do you have it? Do I need to put it up on the screen?
I have it. Thank you.
You've got it, Jenya. Jean, you've got it if you need it. Okay, I'm gonna actually get my copy of it out. Well, I thought I was anyway. I'm gonna have to open it up on my screen because I never did make a copy.
I have a question, Ed.
Yeah,
So are we supposed to just discuss this among ourselves and then narrow it down to what we are telling them, what they're,
yes, what we're supposed to be doing is mulling these questions over as a group, coming up with the group's response. And then that is the response that would be presented to the interviewer when that interview occurs in the later in the early part of February. Now, as part of that, I must also tell you that I serve on the building committee for this facility. And so it is really completely inappropriate for me to be fulfilling a double role here. So I've asked Art to act surprised at the point that I asked him to serve as our representative.
Yes.
So Art would be the one who would be presenting our answers when the interview occurs in early February. And he gets to take the basic data that we give him, and then he gets to, assuming that the interviewer asks him questions that go beyond it, he'll do his best to take him down the appropriate road for that.
Yeah.
So that's actually, I printed the wrong thing here. This is the one I want. Okay. I don't know if I disappear when I do this, but I'm opening up another screen. Okay, there we go. Now I'm back. So, we are supposed to be thinking about this, and Stephanie, correct me if I'm wrong, but the way we're supposed to be thinking about this is not necessarily from the point of view of each of us as an individual user of a proposed facility, but rather as members of the Telecommunications Advisory Board, it serving in our role to aid Township in communications projects. So we're supposed to be looking at these questions, thinking about how they apply to TAB and TAB's role, and therefore what we think an appropriate response would be. There may be someone here, for example, that aren't within our role at all, and we can feel free to say they are not, or whatever we come up with. So that's the basic idea here. There will be other meetings for the public to participate, interest groups to participate, to get down to the, as a user point of view, present points of view. But this is a little bit specialized here, different. It's supposed to be, we're representing what it is we do for the township, which is exactly the point of question 1. How does this project intersect with our role?
Wait,
What?
I have a question.
Oh.
What is this, what is this place called?
It's the Dawson Township Community Center. It's a,
It hasn't really become an entity yet, is that right?
well,
Stephanie, what would the official name of this be?
At this point, this is a feasibility study portion for the Park Recreation Open Space, or, sorry, getting two things mixed up. Park and Recreation Community Center. It's proposed facility that would be in the park. And right now, we're thinking it's probably New Britain Road, but that may change. And you know, it would be a facility. When we redid the township building, Dave, we had indoor space. It was what we called the activity room.
Mhm.
And, you know, we had programs and events and things like that indoors in this space. We lost that space. Right now we have a trailer. You might remember the trailers. We kept portion of them and are still using it for those like classes and programs and things like that. So this would replace, the trailers would go away, we'd get our courts back, and we would have a facility that could be utilized by the community, whether it's rented. There's talk of having a gymnasium in it and some other things that were in the cover letter or the cover email that was sent as well, that kind of outlines what it could be.
I just have a question as well. I take it because this is purely planning phase that the square footage hasn't been decided on, the footprint of the facility?
There were some discussions early on with the Park and Recreation Board and our Ways and Means. They had a subcommittee about a year or more ago. And, you know, they're thinking it's 12,000 plus because they're hoping there's going to be a gymnasium, which a standard indoor gym is over 8,000 square feet. The rest would be for, you know, bathrooms. There would be program spaces for programming, things like that. So there was proposal. We had the Park and Rec Board chair at the time kind of came with an example of what it could be. That one had a second floor that went up to say around 15,000 square feet.
Okay. And I take it that you also considered other facilities like the Sears that went out of business, and
Yeah.
why wasn't that
The
accepted?
owner of the property is not interested in something like that.
what property? I didn't hear what you said.
He
I'm sorry?
referenced the old Sears in the township.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
The property owner there has other plans for that facility.
So there's something else in the wind for that. Okay, okay.
Excuse me.
So with that in mind, how do we see this project intersecting with our role with the township? Anyone want to volunteer on that?
I just say, to me, it seems pretty obvious. Anything that any program or anything that's conducted in the gym or in the place, in the facility, that's of a public interest, that we would tape or video, I should say, for the purposes of the community. You know, whatever that might be. There might be something that's indoor that has to be done because of rain, something being rained out, basketball game that people want to see, a public event. So I think it's pretty obvious that there'll be stuff that would be held in there over the lifetime of this facility that TAB would be interested in.
Right. And from a TAB point of view, it seems to me that although we're not at this point saying what should or shouldn't be in the building, or what is or shouldn't be done there, if there is a facility that has events of one sort or another, there would need to be sufficient facility or facilitation, let's say, that we could record programs, transmit programs, have the right kind of communications facilities to be able to operate with the things that we do inside that facility. To
Yeah.
me, if you think about what we did with the meeting room, we thought about it ahead of time and thought where we needed wiring connections and what sort of systems we needed. And given that our broadcast outlet, assuming we were still interested in getting on the TV channel, is from the township building, if we ever were interested in cable casting live, something that was going on in that building, there would need to be a pretty robust communications link between that new facility and the township building. And
Yeah.
these are all things that once it was specified, the building was specified, we would come back and kind of overlay that with it. To me,
Yeah.
that seems like the most obvious place where it intersects.
Well,
Yeah,
that's,
I'd also like to add, yeah, so we'd have to have the ability designed in the building to have the broadcast capability, whatever it is. And if we have special meeting rooms in there, also in the side rooms as well. Not only the main gym, but whatever other side, whatever other rooms there are. That, yeah.
Are you saying then if there's meeting rooms, there would be the technology so that someone wanted to host a webinar, I'm making it up, someone wanted to use this to rent it out for business or record something or bring in something for people to participate and record themselves?
Yes.
Okay, great.
I think any room in the facility would have to have that capability. Just
I'd love to see charging stations like they do in college campuses. That's just me.
I think it's a good idea.
I think it's a nice service to offer. And we all rely on them, especially if you're in there and there's a safety issue and your phone dies, as we've all experienced. Just a thought.
Well, I'd like to add something else, also expandability, because we're talking about the technology for today, but I think it has to be designed in such a way that you can change things out for whatever the technology is 10 years, 15 years, 20 years from now. So it has to, I think it has to be modular.
Love that. What about like outside? If there's, Stephanie, is there going to be anything outside? Would there ever be an outside event that we would need to?
Sure.
So hook up a microphone or?
Yeah, there could well be. So the point is that, and I think the point that this group should make is that once the facility's functions are identified, then we should come back and do an appropriate communications overlay that talks about what the facilitation should be within and without the facility. I cannot imagine it wouldn't include a robust, at least data connection between that building and the township building itself to make all these kinds of things work. I'm not arguing in any sense that we have to come back and put another whole production video system in. I don't know that yet. I don't know what the building will end up, its purposes will be, but at least as a minimum, I would think we would want to look at the final lineup of what it is that the building is expected to do, and then do an appropriate communications overlay.
Yeah.
And yes, it could include outside stuff. In this case, since you don't know what that would be, let's say you just at least need the wiring in place, or the wiring points in place that you can get to them and add stuff as you need them. So, I mean, there's ways to do this. Anything else on question 1, or have we covered that sufficiently? Going once, going twice. All right. How would you describe the value Doylestown Township residents as a whole place on their park and recreation system?
I think pretty high.
Yeah, I would start that off by saying I think that the park system is one of the township's biggest assets. So, and it's certainly of enormous interest to people who are considering moving here. So I would vote for high on that one.
It's used a lot. We live, basically right across the border from the thing, and you can just see that people just use it extensively. The kids' castle, for example, is always well used, and you can always see a lot of cars in the parking lot. A lot of walkers, dog walkers, and joggers, bicyclists. It's heavily used.
Any different views from anybody, or anything to add to that? Jenny, you want to tell us about Bridgepoint Park?
It's my favorite park.
Yep, it's also close by.
Might be a new attraction coming soon. We'll see.
I hear that.
What park was that? Bridgetown?
Bridgepoint Park.
Bridgepoint. Okay.
All right, number 3.
Yeah, you piqued my interest on that one.
Do you think the parks and recreation system is balanced in terms of the types of parks, facilities, amenities, programs, and services?
No.
Speaking of his tab, does tab have an opinion on that? Or is that something that the residents should weigh in on?
Yes, residents. I'm not on. I forgot. Never mind.
Art, do you have something to add to that, or?
Well, if you're talking about stuff that you want to get out there and record, then anything you do out there has to be remote. Right? That's the way it is. There's nothing in the park that allows you to plug in. I don't know if that's important or not, but that's. Is that question 3? I thought they were asking about.
Yeah,
I'm talking about facilities balanced. No, I'm getting in balanced.
I see. Yeah, outside is outside.
Outside is outside. Yeah, exactly. And
I would prefer myself not to answer this question. I don't think that, as a tab person, I don't have an opinion on that. It's not, I'm here, it seems to me, to react to whatever it is that's decided to be done and find out how to facilitate communications with it. Beyond that, I don't know why we would have an opinion on this matter.
Can I ask a
That's
bigger
me.
Can I ask a bigger picture to Stephanie and Ed? Has there ever been discussion about bringing Wi-Fi to the park?
No,
No. Mm-mm.
Do you think this will provoke a discussion about Wi-Fi to the park? And now that we're designated as a regional park, is that something we should be mindful of when Art talks about being able to move forward, and thinking bigger picture? I'm just asking the board. I don't have an opinion. I just want to hear what everyone thinks.
well, it could be something that would be considered. We'd have to put numbers of wireless access points out there. I don't frankly think it's necessary in that most people today carry smartphones that move from inside Wi-Fi communication to either 4G or 5G automatically when they go outside. So it's not that the residents don't have a service when they get out in the middle of the park, as long as they have a cell phone. Now, if they don't have a cell phone, they probably don't need Wi-Fi either. So I'm not sure, and it doesn't solve the problem, one of the problems that Art was discussing, which is power. I mean, there's no place to plug in power in the middle of the park. So
I was just there's ways of doing that, but my other question also came because of the tornado. I'm just spitballing because of the tornado, and people talked about this community center as maybe a place to take, for safety.
yeah, we've done that for years. And
Right. So is there something that
we
we
had
should be
people-
considering from a
we had-
technology perspective?
we had people come to the meeting room for that very purpose. Just in the old building and the new building, they come, they plug in, they charge their phones, they connect up to their email. And yes, and to the extent that any new facility has an internet connection, and power, you can certainly provide that sort of emergency service.
Is there any new technology coming out? That's what I'm really trying to find out.
Other than,
There's always new technology
Yeah.
coming out, but it's
Yeah.
probably not going to change the type of thing that we do. It just that there'll be 6G or 8G, or there'll be something of that sort that we'll just have to keep up with.
Jenna, you're smiling. What are you thinking?
Nothing. It's just Ed keeps counting up. Like I understand that. No, I think in terms of like adding Wi-Fi to parks, I don't know if that would be like relevant to this particular new center. So I think it'll probably come up for the center, and it seems like a reasonable accommodation to make. But I don't know if they're thinking as far as like parks wide.
Since it's the center of the park, I just was trying to look at if
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
an expense to expense that we need to be mindful of. That's it. Not really
Understandable.
anything more than that. Yeah.
Mhm.
If we end up putting a communications trench between a site on New Britain Road and the current municipal complex, we could certainly take advantage of that trench to bring stuff elsewhere in the park. I mean, once we get started, we could, I mean, right now we have a problem with Kids Castle. It has power, but it doesn't have much in the way of communications. Well, I am sure that the routing of this thing between the municipal building and the New Britain Road site could meander near to Kids Castle, and all of a sudden, now we have a way to do security cameras. We have a way to provide amenities there that we don't, and we can take it to the band shell too. So, I mean, once we start thinking about having a communications pathway of some sort, getting it from point A to point D will enable us to go to a lot of other points at the same time.
So it could open Pandora's box, basically, is what you're saying.
In a good way.
Is that safe to say, Stephanie? Because I opened the box wide open, obviously.
Yeah, I'm listening to what Ed's and Art saying. I think it would be interesting to have you know, and I know we have some conduit out there and I know we have electric and things like that in places, but then, you know, I'm thinking going from, say, the Ban Shell area over to the New Britain Road side, there probably isn't much out there.
No, there's
And
nothing out there.
that run, what's that cost, you know, and if you're going to do it as part of, you know, if you're going to do a big project, you might as well throw something like that in as well. And what does it, you know, what does it get us? So, I mean, is it something to consider as part of this potential project? Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to do it,
Throw it out.
if you're going to do it just to get internet connectivity between, let's say, sufficient internet connectivity that you can go out on the broadcast channel, then once you open up the earth to drop that pipe in, you can drop 3 more in, and you can get all kinds of other stuff flowing back and forth.
Right,
And
so we
and
could,
to other parts of the park. I mean,
Right.
once the trench is open, that's the time
Mhm.
to fill it up.
so you could record the concerts at the clamshell, for instance. I'm
Yep.
just, right, if you have a performer that wants to do lights and things, I'm thinking way out there. I know I am, but that's me, so. And I'm interested to hear everyone else's response. It's just my thoughts.
Yeah, and that's why, once the facility is put in place, then we can do a proper communication study. Right now, to specify that seems to me not appropriate, because we don't know what we're ending up with yet. But my imagination tells me there's going to be the need for communications between the 2 points, and once we do that, we can probably do a lot more.
You need to,
Is this,
you need to have a,
what are we up to now? Are we up to question 4?
Yeah.
Okay,
hello.
Oh, David, question.
David,
I think it would be a great idea to have, say, 6 well, you know, in terms of
I don't know what you're getting at.
concert venues,
Oh,
all right, where you don't have to.
yeah, there is a concert venue that's kind of halfway between the municipal building and this proposed site today. And at least in the back of my mind, if we put a communications trench in, it's going to run near that site. So once we're there, and we can do the kinds of things like put in enough cabling that we could cablecast live some of our parks performances. We'd actually put them on our cable channel, send it out, even live stream it over the internet, assuming we have
I love it.
the digital rights. But you need connectivity to do that, and that's something we don't have today.
doesn't this conversation belong up, not under the balance category, but the one prior to it? Where we're talking about, or where we were talking about, we need to know what they expect to be included in order to know.
Yeah, I do. I think it's got to be, you got to answer question 1
Number 1, yeah.
and then we need to do an appropriate communication study. But to do it without that, says you can imagine all kinds of stuff, but you have no idea whether the final project has enough girth, let's say, to handle all that.
So basically, though, we're saying in the balance question, that's not applicable, right? That's not really.
Well, that's my opinion. I don't know whether everyone else agrees. Anyone want to take a stab at that? Virginia, what do you think?
I don't know. And in terms of just like residents, yeah, we can answer that. But I think you're right. As Tab, I don't know if we have anything to contribute.
I agree.
All right, let's move on to question 4. This talks about how there's no space today for programs and services, or very little space. And the question of, would the Doylestown Township community benefit from having access to a community recreation center? Again, this is asking the question from a resident point of view. From a TAB point of view, I'm not certain that's something we have if it's something that the township wants to do, then we need to find a way to support it. But I don't know that, what if the community decides, no, they don't need this, then I don't know that TAB has any, has an opinion that should supersede that. But that's, again, that's me.
Mhm.
Please speak up if you think differently.
We're a support facility. I mean, our function is a support. The township and the residents decide what they want to do, and we support it. And we tell them whether we can do what they want to do or can't do what they want to do. That's the way I look at it. From a technology point of view, like they say they want X, Y, Z, and we say, yeah, we can do that, or we don't have the facility or the capability or whatnot to do that. So I think, yeah, I agree with that. This is something that's a resident question and a voter question, not something for us to decide.
All right, everyone agree? So we're going to pass on question 4. Question 5. This again is asking what should go on in the building. Now, we certainly have already commented on technology and connectivity, emergency use. We've commented on all of that stuff in the earlier part of the meeting, all of which I think, again, we would answer once the building's functions were specified, what we think it would take to support it.
Mhm.
But I'm not trying to throw, if you guys feel differently, please speak up. This is just me.
Well, one of the things that people are looking for are places where they can have amateur bands. Okay, not, well, you know, like out there where you have your band shell.
Right,
I have some bands that nobody's ever heard of before, right?
right.
If you ever do that, but
Yeah.
something to think about.
Right. And certainly if we did all this connectivity stuff and the band, I don't know quite what would happen if we put all the bands in there and we had digital streaming rights, or could get digital streaming rights. We could put all of that activity out on our website. We could put it out on the TV channel. We could certainly expand the audience for this stuff in a way we can't do it today. Now, it's not quite the same as sitting in the grass and listening. And I guess you wouldn't get to buy a hot dog from Stephanie at the stand, but it could be some way to get the notion that the township is providing these services out to the public. And maybe it's also a way we could do some advertising if there was a desire to bring more of an audience in. We'd have some material we could make ads from. So
Ed, if I can add to this, if you think about the potential of this indoor facility at the present time, well, not this year in 20 because of COVID, but in the past when we had a concert planned and it rained, we would have to go into the auditorium over at Lenape. What if Lenape were busy that night with something else. I mean, we always had it kind of scheduled just in case as a rain location. But this gives us an alternative rain location on site as well as a potential. You know, we don't know what the schools will or won't allow when COVID is over, and whether in the summertime we'll be able to get into the schools. So this venue could provide an indoor space for like when the concerts get rained out or it's way too hot at the band shell, you know, and 80 or well, when it's like 101 in the evening and people don't want to go to the
Right.
concert, you know, this provides us with an indoor space as well.
That's an interesting point. Well,
And you're-
I doubt you
Yeah.
would put, go ahead, I'm sorry.
But then the technology that you've been talking about in questions 1 and 2 are very important, because then it lends itself to do, you know, what you were just talking about.
Well, and it goes actually even further than that, because if you think for a moment that the building, once it's specified, is not going to include a full-size auditorium with the appropriate acoustics and a full-size gymnasium, it's liable to have one room that would have to serve as both, which means that there would have to be some consideration for how you would take a gym type space with those shiny wooden floors and hard walls, and you would make it acoustically appropriate to have a concert in.
Oh, good point. Mm-hmm.
I mean, not that we've done a great job of that so far in our meeting room, but we certainly know what bad is. And that would be an interesting challenge to create a space that was bare bones, hard surfaces appropriate for a gym type environment. And at the flip of a switch, let's say, have a way of turning it into an acoustically reasonable space that a band could perform in for an audience. I think it's doable. I mean, among at very least, you might end up having to hang some things up on the walls temporarily, or you might have ceiling panels that came down. But I mean, that's again, if that's a function that you would want, we would need to think out how we would achieve it. Because I can't imagine you're going to let let's say a 200 by 50 foot space sit there as a possible auditorium sometime and not want to use it for something else the rest of the time.
And then might be ever want to use it for like a theatrical performance or something.
Yeah. And yeah, once you could move from one to the other reasonably from an acoustic point of view, then yeah, it opens up all kinds of possibilities.
I was gonna see even like the School of Rock and all the musical, you know, and art that want to do, and even the cheerleading, you know, like they want to practice competing. I mean, it's endless.
Yep.
It's endless. Yeah.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so that's yet another way to come at this, is to, once we know we want to have happen there, we need to think out all that stuff. But I don't know ahead of time whether, you know, is it Tab's opinion that there should be a spare auditorium sitting somewhere? I don't think I have an opinion on that.
The only thing I would say that I liked what Stephanie mentioned about streaming is I'd love to be able to stream the concerts to the Chamonix Manor, like places where there are maybe seniors that can't, you know, or maybe some of the senior homes that are in Doylestown that can't get there, or maybe challenged because of the weather or walking or whatever. I think that would be a really lovely service to offer.
Yeah, we could supplement it because, you know, we're fortunate because Pine Run, in Chamonix Manor, they do, like, the Dart brings a lot of people, but
Right.
so it would be interesting to you know, be able to supplement. Great idea, Nancy.
Yeah, exactly. That just, it's a service. There you go. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, again, I'm not sure where that fits in this sequence of questions, but yeah, that's,
I think they all go under one.
what are we up to at this point? We were
Seven.
Six.
noodling on 5, I think.
Yeah,
6, you were on 6 or 7.
We're on 7. Next one.
were we on, we did 6?
Mhm.
What did we say for 6, Art? What
I
did you?
don't know.
What important needs should the serve for the new community center? And I think we came up to the thing was we have to understand what the center is going to be before we render an opinion. Then we got into the discussion of the indoor location for rain and other things. So we were under 6 for that one.
Okay.
Okay. And again, as for number 7, I don't know that that's our realm.
Hmm.
As a resident it is, but I don't know as tab it is. And I'm trying hard not to answer this as a resident.
Yeah, I tend to agree that unless someone's going to pay us royalty rights for say for videoing something, I can't see any input on that question.
Any other point of view on that? Jenya, Jean? Well, so I don't know whether we've come up with very much here for this. Art, do you think you have enough to at least represent us? When the interviewer asks you, I'm sure he'll have a lot of clever ways of trying to draw you out.
Well,
There are more questions though.
yeah, we have 3 more questions left.
My mistake.
Okay,
I forgot to turn it over.
But no, I'm sure I can represent us. I don't have any problems with that. No.
All right, who wants to take a crack on 8? As tab.
I guess we can have an opinion on something like that as a committee, where we would think the priority should be on developing something. I see that as a ministerial or a governmental function. And I think that's an opinion, that's a committee opinion. As a member of the committee, my vote is that I think medium.
We certainly have talked about a lot of needs tonight.
Yep.
There is a need for meeting space, which disappeared when we came into the new building. We've talked about emergency possible use. So we've talked about any number of uses, so that all of that seems like from a township point of view, I would say a medium is probably appropriate. It certainly, I don't think it's low.
I would say high, but
No,
So you would say somewhere between medium and high is what you would think. Okay. How about number 9?
deal breakers, funding, partnerships, programs and services. I think this is a resident question.
Actually sounds to me like a supervisor question.
Yeah, I mean, the partnerships, maybe we can have an opinion on, well, I don't think funding is our issue. Programs and servicing, deal breakers. We're not, it's not in our business to tell what they can and can't do, but if you're saying what we would like to see, I would like to see the same type of connectivity, the abilities that we have in the main building to be able to do that in this building. I mean, things we discussed earlier. As for partnerships, I don't know, if there's any other organization that wants to, partner with us, any other township organization on an event that's over there, I guess, tangentially. That's the only thing I can think of. But that would be within the municipality, partnering within the municipality. That's the way I see it.
Or other organizations.
Yep. No, but I don't think, I don't know. The only thing I can think of is that would it be a mother may I to come to us if an outside organization wants to use the facility to video something? Would they have to come to TAB or the municipality to do that? So I'll just take something. Let's say there is a high school that wants to use the gym for an event, and they want to video the event, and they want to use let's say whatever facilities that TAB is or the township has put in for TAB's use there. Do they have to come to TAB or the township to use that?
Well, they do in the current building.
And then that would be the issue here.
I mean, we've just been through that with first PCN, when we did a congressional debate.
Yeah.
And been through it to some extent with the county, but in their case, they didn't bring in another organization. They just relied on us to do it for them. But yeah, so in both those two cases, they came to us. They came to Stephanie, who came to us.
Well, that's what I would say.
Art, you just reminded me through my other work. We have some incredible science competitions, and right now, and it's among the middle schools and high schools. So a variety of within the township, as well as, with East, West, and South, and the middle schools. But they use Del Val right now, but I could see them coming to the township building because it's a nightmare with parking and it's limited, etc. So you just made me think of that. The school district may end up finding, needs for this building as well that are off-site.
Yeah.
If those kids do it like during the day, it's like a 2-day thing, and it's a huge deal.
What part of Del Val do they use now? Do they that new science center?
I've been to it. No, it wasn't the new science. The new science center is like the 2 auditoriums. It's not there. No, it's like flat space because all the students set up their tables with their trifolds and they present to judges that are walking around.
It's like the place that that funeral service was held for.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're multi-purpose.
In the student union building.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
Right. Yeah. The reason I asked is if they're looking for a space better than the one that's in that science building, I cannot imagine that we're setting out to make an auditorium as quite as magnificent as that is also a gym. It's a
No, it wasn't an auditorium. They just needed the flat, almost gymnasium space. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do better than that, but I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine we'll do an auditorium as nice as that science center. Unless we had some use for it more of the time than occasionally. All right. So did that get us to the end? Those number 10, any other thoughts? I mean, the one thing that keeps coming out of all this is I think as an advisor on communications, it's like whatever the township decides they want to do, once they know what they want to do, it seems completely appropriate that they could involve us to help them figure out how to do the communications and connectivity aspects of it. But as opposed to having us, and I think the appropriate message for us at this point is to say, we would like to do that and not have that slip away once this project kind of gets organized.
So really, what I'm understanding is that once the decision is made on the use, then we get involved in the nitty gritty on the planning of the facility, just like with the township building, on how it's on how TAB can,
What we would recommend that is done for the building.
that's pretty much what I'm saying.
And I would looked at it differently, Ed. I looked at it that it was an opportunity for TAB to share ideas or potential things that this community center could impact the community, either with the services we provided and even maybe looking out beyond, or being modular, as Art talked about, or recording services, so that when we look at the total budget, it's part of that, rather than waiting for them to decide and then going, okay, well, here's the things you can do. So I don't know. I would love to hear what the committee thinks. I just looked at it a little bit differently, because I look at all of you as the experts when it comes to this kind of stuff. So, you're my Tony Stark. So what do you think we should be thinking about or considering when we do that? So when we look at the big picture of what this building can represent and offer to the community, and also, if it's start something for later on a bigger picture or a bigger scale, potentially. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's I admire the desire for lots of imagination here, but I don't think, let's say, for example, we go through this entire process of thinking out what the building should be, and it ends up, and it doesn't have a gym at all. It's got 4 small meeting rooms in it. It's 5,000 square feet. And what good does that do for us to say, gee, it'd be nice if we could telecast the concerts from the band shell? I mean, it's just they're apples and pomegranates. I'm more than happy to think about all kinds of stuff, but we're being asked to comment on a particular project. But I note that most of the things we've talked about have been sort of around the project. They've been, well, if we go through the land where the band shell is, and we happen to have communications there, gee, that would help the band shell. So that's.
But it's part of the building project. At the end of the day, as Stephanie said, once you dig the hole, what's the difference between if it's 1 pipe or 3 pipes of wires?
Yeah,
That's my.
that. Yes,
You said that.
I'm well aware of the concept, but I don't know that there's going to be any pipe until I know what it is that the project is going to turn out to be. And this is the cart before the horse in a sense, I think.
And Ed, yours and Art, you guys are in, sort of that engineering mindset, if you will, a little bit. And so I can, this is a little bit more abstract. Do you know what I mean? You all have to think of it being a little bit more abstract in a sense of putting the cart before the horse. So it is that aspect of taking a bit of an assumption that, what I've heard consistently in response to most of the questions from the TAB is that when the architect, after the feasibility and the feasibility study shows there's going to be XYZ spaces available, that the architect needs to work with the TAB to make sure that telecommunication services, communication services, appropriate wiring, cameras, etc., are available in the facility and whatever that facility is made up of. Is that sort of a good summary?
Mhm. And a setup that is capable of expansion and modification in the future. It's
Good,
not
good.
it's not a one and done.
Right, and that the other question is that do some of the rooms or areas have the ability with simple instructions that outside parties could use some of that equipment versus the tab or staff or something like that?
Yeah.
You know,
That impacts rentability too and
Sure,
income.
sure,
Yeah.
exactly.
Now, just a question, have other committees been asked yet these questions? Do you know what their responses have been?
First.
Well, you're the first meeting, but all of some of the other committees in the township, like Ways and Means, Park and Recreation, Environmental Advisory Council, Kids Castle, they're all being asked the same questions. But their meetings are on, like tomorrow night, the EAC will be going through this process.
Okay,
Okay,
just wanted to know. Thanks.
yeah, because the Ken Ballard wants to be able to start to talk to the chairman of these various committees at the beginning of February. And Ways and Means is the last group that meets at the end of the month.
Okay,
Just wanted to, put it in perspective for you, Art.
I mean, I like a lot of what we've been talking about, things that we could do along the way between the main building and this building as we wander through the park with communications. I think that if there's anything that I could dream up a lot of imaginative things, it's that. Once you have this communications tunnel, you've opened the door to all kinds of possibilities. So assuming that the building in the end is going to need this sort of thing, that opens the door to doing things elsewhere in the park also. Doesn't help Sowerman Park, doesn't help Bridge Point Park or any of the other small ones, but it certainly would help things that go on within Central Park, including Kids Castle.
mhm.
Well, Stephanie, do you think we've got an adequate answer, at least for now?
No, I think we're good. I mean, unless you have anything else, and I mean, Ken Ballard, Art, just so you know, when you speak to him, he's a very nice person, very well versed in this kind of stuff. This is what he does. Very well respected around the country. Okay, so I think you'll be able to talk to him and share the tab's thoughts on this. So it'll be an easy conversation, I'm sure.
Okay, so I take it that there'll be some date in the future, end of the month, beginning of next month?
Yes, we need to know, so we know it's Art, and Ed, if you would follow the second part of the request, which is to make sure that we have Art's telephone and which, I mean, I'm sure we have, but the email you would prefer to be contacted at and everything like that. I can start to feed that information and, to the consultant.
Set up the phone time with you and
They'll talk to you, they'll contact you. Art.
Okay, to be determined. Got it. No, not a problem.
Mhm.
Can do that.
Yeah.
okay, and speaking of communications, I'd like to show you guys something which I'm going to send to you. At least I think I'm going to.
You can share your screen if you want.
Yes, I'm in the midst of doing that. I can't find what I'm looking for.
Mm.
Oh, man, come on. I got too much stuff open. All right, well, let me just put it this way. There's an information form that is the standard form that the township, I gotta close this, that the township issues each year. I will send it to each of you. They'd like to know how you want to be communicated with, what your phone numbers are, all that sort of stuff. So I will get that to you and ask that you send it back to the township. Um, The next item that's on the agenda is also something that's due in the early part of February, and that is the report to the Board of Supervisors. We have traditionally in the past had an all-night or a marathon session in the early part of February in which all of the boards gave their reports sequentially. Obviously, in the case of the COVID, the restrictions due to COVID, but that's not so easy to do anymore. So the township has come up with a different way of doing it, which is that we're all going to put together relatively short video presentations, 3 minutes, 5 minutes tops. And Tab is then going to take all of these that are created. So for example, other groups will do a Zoom presentation of some sort. DTMA has come to us and asked for our help, which I'll talk to you about in a minute. And we're going to string them together, put them together as a program and ship them off to the supervisors, maybe put them up on the YouTube channel where they can go look at them at their leisure. And we, of course, can show them on the TV channel, and we can show them on the website, so forth and so on. So we get a program out of it, and the Board of Supervisors get their reports. Now, in the past, the reports have had some lack of consistency, I guess you could say. We'd all kind of like that to be different this time. So I have put together, and you should be seeing it now,
Yeah.
a 3-slide version. It's not quite done, and it's not in the pretty form that Stephanie sent to me. But I show it to you tonight so you can weigh in on a couple of the things that are on here. Traditionally,
I have a little problem.
what's that?
This came up and it got rid of now I can't find my minutes on the page that I was typing. Any ideas?
Oh, that's a problem.
I'm sure your minutes are still there. It's just this is.
Yeah, I'm sure they're still there, but okay, well. Okay.
Well, I'll tell you what, don't take any minutes on this part of it, because I'm going to show you what this is and tell you where I need some help
Okay.
for data and things of that sort. And you can put in the minutes that we discussed it, and Mr. Riebenbach is going to finish it or something like that. I don't think we have to go into the details. This first page is just very generic. What our official mission is, with items 1 and 2 being the big deal, item 3 being something that's kind of fading into the rearview mirror at this point. The members of the committee and one opening. Our member at large, Jean, Nancy as the liaison, and when we meet. So I don't think there's anything controversial on there. Then there's a slide on what we got done in 2019 and 2020. And there's a slide on what we're planning for 21. And the way we've done it in the past is I've kind of broken it up into pieces. So for example, from a reach point of view, in terms of communicating out to the rest of the world, one of the absolute biggest things we've done in this past year, and I'm including a piece of 2019 because we only reported on the first half of 2019, never the second half. But one of the biggest things we did, particularly after COVID hit, is we got engaged with Zoom. And I think one of the best things we've done is, as a matter of fact, to get the Zoom functionality to integrate with our meeting room equipment so that we can have a combination of live and in-person meetings. So I ended up putting that up at the top. I also say something about producing more videos. I obviously I haven't got the statistics down at this point, and I'll have to work with Aaron to figure this out, but we do, because we put things on the website, that extends our borders beyond the township walls. And we go outside the township, and we need to know how many views we've had over this period of time. This is the figure, what the figure was a year ago or 2 years ago. Board of Supervisor web streaming, I say here, not growing. That's the note that was there from the last go around. As a matter of fact, the data showed up today. Kurt Kraus helped me get it. It's actually doubled over the last year because more people are watching the meetings remotely and using our web streaming service than ever before. So I don't know whether it's at 14, but it's his point of view was that it had almost doubled from the last time we looked at it. So this will obviously change. And then social media, I think the continued steady growth is still appropriate, but I need to update all the statistics that are here in blue. They're not up to date. So that's from a reach point of view. Technical operations, we obviously absorbed the new meeting room systems, expanded our operational knowledge and our ability to operate the thing over time. We also added that technical capability for Zoom into the system, which didn't exist before. We did work with outside partners in the case of the Pennsylvania Cable Network to telecast a congressional debate. That's something we had never done before. You know, it was pretty successful. And we worked with the county to telecast their senior expo. We did that just a month ago. And there may be others in here. So Art and Jean, if you think of things that we've done that I've missed, I'd love to hear from you. So make sure I don't leave something important out. I think that the locally produced videos you'll see down below. Lastly, under technical operations, we are in the middle of creating a request for proposals to enable us to bid out a meeting room acoustic remediation project. I have a draft of it together, and Dave Tomko and I are working on cleaning it up so we can get that going in the next couple of weeks. Video content, our content showing statistics for the channel are still pretty good, staying pretty strong. And the two new items of content that I listed in this time period, second half of 2019 and 2020, are the Welcome Wagon video that Art produced and the whole grouping of just Doylestown Historical Society videos, which actually occupy a fair amount of our broadcast channel time during the day. We have probably 6 or 8 of those that are running at this point. Lastly, the Verizon franchise renewal negotiations are pretty much wrapped up. And as I understand it, the only thing open at this point is whether or not we're going to receive an operating grant, though I'm frankly not holding my breath on that. So if you think of anything that should be in here, I mean, I can send this out by email after we finish this meeting. And if you have some things you'd like to suggest I add to it, I'd dearly love to hear from you.
Okay. The only other thing I produced or did was the Memorial Day parade thing. That was it.
Yeah, we actually mentioned that in the last one. I think that was in the first half of 19. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, it's about, I did it during, I did it during the COVID stuff.
Do you count promos?
Pardon me?
You did it during the COVID stuff. Well, that's this year.
Yeah.
So
last
timing's wrong.
last year during the COVID lockdown. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so you did it during 2020.
Yes.
All right, then it should be mentioned.
Okay.
Okay. All right, good.
Are you counting promos, like Ride the Trails or anything?
I should, yeah. Okay, now that was a very nice one. So, yeah, I can add that in here too.
Did you get this step into September?
That's
How
I
you,
think what Jean's talking
Oh,
about.
right, yeah,
yeah,
that's what I meant.
I
yeah.
didn't know, I missed that. Okay, so that, I'll spruce that up.
What happened, Stephanie, with Max? Did he fall off our helping list?
I mean, I'm still waiting on a response from him. I mean, he took 2 videos that day, or 3 actually, and I have reached out a couple of times and haven't heard from him. So I will continue to try to reach out again, but I don't know. Yeah, he kind of
Disappointing.
fell off. I don't know what happened, you know.
He got picked up to do something big. I saw his mom had posted, so that's probably why,
Okay.
unfortunately.
You know, I know.
Happy for him, sad for us.
Yeah, the competition got him.
He's got 3 videos that I'd like him to send our way, you know.
Well, let's finish this up. The last slide deals with this year. The things that we're working on. Again, anything else that you think I should have in here? I'm more than happy to adjust this, and I will send this out after this meeting so you have it directly to look at. But this first item is the thing we started working on, talking about when the Parks Board came to see us 2 meetings ago. And last time when we talked about it, and Jenya has started to work on a list of ways we can provide guidance to other groups. So there's that. We'll come back to talking about that specifically later, but that's what that refers to. The coronavirus vignettes, the bike and hike trail overview and individual videos, with a project I hope we can get restarted this year once we all get vaccinated. In combination with that, a new parks video I've been hearing about. We do have some older ones, but they're pretty much out of date at this point. So there is some attention that could be paid to putting together some new material on parks. I hope we get to work with the EAC some more this year. We had started that last year and then got blown away with the 10 days of trees, kind of blew itself out. And but if that gets picked up again, we can keep going in that direction.
Yeah.
We have something going on with Doylestown Health, though we haven't heard from them in a while. I think we met with them, what was it, in April or May?
No, it was over the summer.
It was over the summer, okay.
Yeah, it was over the summer.
And they're supposed to be getting back to us, and we haven't heard from them. The school district, we've obviously talked about that various times during the last year. Restart and update the Who We Are, What We Do series. They're all pretty old at this point, the ones that we did. So we may want to, once we can do some in-person stuff, we have some work we can do there. And I certainly want to keep as much video on the channel as we've been doing in the past, and that's what this 80% figure is. And down here in the technical side, we obviously still have a lot more to learn about this very, very capable equipment that we bought. We're just kind of scratching the surface with what we can do so far, though I do think we've made headway. I believe, with the exception of the acoustic remediation aspects in the meeting room, we have made a fair amount of improvement in the audio equipment itself. But I also think that we could do something to improve our camera placement and coverage. And I have some ideas in that area that might improve the quality of the programs that we send out of there. The cameras we have are good. We just don't have them exactly in the right places. I have a sneaky idea of how to maybe add a camera or two and allow ourselves to have more up close pictures than we use today. We're too far back for most of the stuff that we show. Our web streaming, we are using an outside service at this point, and we have a project on the books to consider replacing it with in-house equipment. We have a system that's capable of doing that, but we have to think it through and make sure we know how we want to go about it. It may end up saving us money, so that's worth considering. Lastly, we need to get the meeting room acoustics fixed and the lighting fixed. So those are the things at least I have teed up for this year. And if you have things you'd like to add to that or think we should add, I'd dearly love to hear what they are.
Yeah,
Yes.
yes. I'm trying to get a handle on where we're at for changing of HG to
Or SD to HD.
SD and so on.
Yeah, we're pretty much nowhere.
Okay.
Happened.
I don't,
We're nowhere because the Verizon basically blew us away and refused to consider it. So that whole, and they threatened to go out of the business in some respects. So I don't have any hope, it seems to me, of using Verizon, who is the one that's the most advanced in the use of HD, to leverage Comcast to help us. So without that leverage, what do I have to work with on Comcast? They've basically said they would go HD, but we'd have to give up our channel 22 location. We could probably become 1122 or 3122 or some other crazy number. And I'm not sure that they would pay for it. So I've basically put that on the shelf for now.
Ed, what's the timeline for the acoustics? Because that will be the one thing everybody asks.
We're still hoping to be able to get the work done in April.
Okay. Are you going to put something there like aiming for April or, something on there? Not to put you on the fire, but.
As long as I put it on white ink, yeah.
I mean, they're gonna ask. So I mean, you can just say goal, goal date. Doesn't mean, goals move, but that continues to be a conversation that we all have. So
Right.
thank you. I know before it moves lower and lower, it's the bottom and the last page. I'm a little worried.
Well, it doesn't belong up on the top in content area. I could make it the first one under technical operations if you'd like. It could become A instead of D.
Probably a better location.
Yep.
It may score you a few brownie points.
Yeah.
Well, I also don't think that the technical operations piece of this group is the main deal anymore. So I mean, I used to put the whole technical operations was at the top, and the programming we talked about when we had time. But
right.
So I don't know that I can take it and move it up here. But.
Oh, no, Ed. I don't think that's what Nancy's saying. I
That's
think
not what I'm suggesting.
Yeah, I think she means just in it as A versus, move it from D to A. It is a technical thing. It's not the video content, which, and you're right, the group has definitely moved, and rightly so, over time. It's just, we were, as we were starting out, we didn't have the cameras and all that stuff. So everything was technical. But now you're right, Ed. I mean, things have become more content, video centric than, especially with all the new equipment and everything like that,
Yeah, theoretically now you don't.
Yeah.
We have
Yeah.
outsiders maintain it.
Right.
Can I ask a question? Because I was on the the dog park meeting earlier, and they're concerned, they do Saturday orientations for the dogs. And they're concerned that if the building is closed, and they were discussing doing it as a Zoom, because they don't do them like all the time. So people want to sign up so that, and they can sometimes have to wait 3-4 weeks before they get to do a dog orientation. They want to know if there's someone, whether it's that could help them. Kathy didn't know how to do it, was a little nervous about it. I don't know how that works in terms of either our volunteers, directions, Aaron, Ed, Stephanie. I don't want to volunteer anybody. I just said I would raise the question, and here I am.
Yeah, I think we can certainly help set a Zoom up. We can set a Zoom up for them, and I just
Well,
admit
the basic, their only basic issues, they'll have to share a screen. They can't,
Yeah.
theirs will
I
not
don't think-
quite like this. They have
Yeah, I
to
don't-
do the share screen function.
I don't think they know how to share a screen, or if they want to record it so they can use it in the future, or they talked about someone running the chat room so they could ask questions. They're worried people aren't paying attention. It got really like very detailed. I think they just need the basics of how to use the Zoom. So I don't know if we've helped any of our committees, if anyone's reached out to you to set something up like that.
no, because we're running all the
So
Zooms.
far,
Yeah, they haven't so far because we run all the Zooms like I'm doing tonight and everything.
Right.
And we also have like Zoom webinar. We really haven't utilized that very much, but we have that available where they could do it as Zoom webinar, which probably is a little bit better for them. We're going to reopen the building to the public probably later this week. The chief and with the changes from the governor and on the 4th, and we just wanted to wait another week to see how everything was going. But the chief and Sinclair said, we could open the lobbies again.
I think
So-
it's on the 16th, just so you know, the dog park. So they
Yeah,
need to know ASAP.
We can get them back in the building for that. I mean,
Okay.
I don't see a problem with that.
yeah, they run their own sessions when they're in the building. They've
Correct.
learned how to operate the laptop and the equipment in the meeting room.
Right.
Right.
They're very independent. They just didn't know about the Zoom piece. That's why I asked.
Yeah, but
Well,
we're
yeah,
gonna
they
be
haven't
able to get in the
talked to
building.
me, and we'll set up a time to show them.
Thank you.
Just in case they have to go back like a month. I mean, who knows what could happen in a month? You know what I mean?
All right.
So-
All right, we're coming up on 8 o'clock at this point. So we've been an hour and a half. I would like to move, thank you for your input on this, on the annual report. As I say, I will send it out to you and ask you to come back to me with anything else you can think of. I'd like to talk about a few of the items that are on the programming projects thing, and then I think we can dispense with the rest of it for tonight. I know Aaron has put together a really good social media report, but I think unless people want to stay for a long meeting, we're going to be out of time very shortly. From a programming projects point of view, we have already talked about, we touched on the coronavirus. I don't think there's anything new, the vignettes there. I mean, I know I haven't got my part of it done.
Yeah.
But otherwise, Art, is there anything else new?
No, I have nothing new to add for this evening.
All right, so I'm still in the bad books there.
Okay.
The aid to other boards and commissions, as I said, Jenya has put together a document for us to consider We're still working on it, and she's working on it diligently. So I think that's something we could cover at the next meeting, but it should be ready at that point to move on to back to the Parks Board for their consideration. It's pretty far along. I have also on this list the municipal authority video. That turns out that was Keith Haas looking for some help to put his annual report together. I was really feeling good that somehow we were going to get a 20-minute or a 30-minute program about a high quality Doylestown Township water, but turns out we're going to get a 3-minute management report.
Well,
But unfortunately, Gene, it does boil down to he has working on a script, and he's laying it out in the kind of the script order, which would be for a voiceover, and then he's collecting a whole bunch of photos and other stuff to go with it. So we might have to throw something together where we take his voiceover and we add a lot of photographic content that he's collecting. So I'll keep you posted on that, but that will also have a delivery date of the early part of February. Trails video, I did say I would like to get that restarted if possible. Once we get vaccinated and can start moving around again. Hopefully we can get some energy back into this project and get something on the rails, and that could probably lead us to doing some stuff on parks also. So
They're been vaccinated.
I didn't hear you.
Has anybody been vaccinated?
No.
No.
No, I'm ancient enough, but only for 1B. There's no date for 1B.
yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Aaron, I thought you did an awesome job with your report. Thank you. It was really helpful to look at, and it'd probably be nice to share with Park and Rec when you do work with them, so they have a sense of what the social media, what our reach is, because I know when they had come to the tab meeting, they had asked. So maybe you can even give it to them ahead of time so they start to get a sense of what our reach looks like.
Yep.
Yeah, I can share that with them.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
All right. So given all that, is there anything anyone else would like to cover tonight?
No.
Nope. Going once.
No, I think we've covered a lot of territory, actually.
Yeah, I think we have to, and I think it's enough for tonight.
I want to applaud our newest person coming on, Aaron. Thank you very much for the work for putting together the report. Took a look at it beforehand. It's very complete. I like what you did. So,
Thank you.
So it was good work.
It's particularly nice to see the municipal comparison again. We hadn't seen that for a while. And that is something that we should repeat every so often. I don't think it has to be weekly or monthly, but I think we should pay pretty regular attention to that one.
Okay.
I like the reports the way you did them. I thought they were wonderful. Thank you. Perfect.
All right. Would anyone like to suggest we close?
I make a motion
Is there a
to
second?
close the meeting for this evening.
Is there a second? No second? I'll second it.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night,
Yes,
everybody.
good evening.
Take
Thank
care.
Okay, folks.